Today's Reddit story comes from a subreddit TIFU and is titled TIFU by letting a girl use my bathroom. This happened 2 years ago, so I'll do my best to recount everything as it happened. Some background. I was still living at home at this point. My younger brother, I'll call him Matt, 15 male, at the time, has been taking piano lessons since he was little, and he got good enough to pick up teaching as a way to make some spending money. His students consist of kids from our neighborhood, usually around 5 to 12-year-olds. This happened while our parents were out of town on a trip. The only ones home at the time were me, 20 female, my sister Morgan, 22 female, my best friend Sarah, 21 female, and Matt. Matt was teaching some kids who lived down the road from us. It was a group of 3 siblings, 5 male, 7 male, and 9 female. And the way he'll do their lessons was that he'll teach one at a time while the other 2 hung out and play with toys. At one point, 9 female asked if she can use the bathroom. We have 3, 2 on the upper level and 1 downstairs, and she chooses the one downstairs. This is after she's already had her portion of the lesson and Matt is finishing up with the last kid. About 15 minutes later, their mom shows up to pick them up, and they leave. I notice that 9 female is moving a little quicker than usual, but obviously I don't think anything of it. Some time passes and I go downstairs to go to the bathroom. This bathroom is a type with a separate little room where the toilet is so that people can still brush their teeth and stuff if someone is using the bathroom. And when I walked in, the door is closed. That's kind of weird but not alarming. I open the door and lift up the lid, and immediately I'm hit with the most ungodly stench I've ever encountered. I have a strong stomach, but I was close to gagging. This toilet is mega clogged. The water is close to the top of the bowl, and this is not a few turds lurking by the drain with mostly clear water. I cannot see where water ends and poop begins. I knew immediately that this was not the work of a family member. No one I knew was capable of this. This was an unfamiliar and malignant turd that this girl had dropped in my home. I'm trying to work past my revulsion to deal with this in a quick and sanitary manner. The plunger, right next to the toilet, I might add, hadn't been used, so I had hoped that it would be as simple as a few quick rounds of plunging to get everything down. I gave it a try, hoping the murky water wouldn't impede my progress, and to my utter horror, the water rose higher. Not only that, it wasn't draining whatsoever, even when I left it for several minutes in hopes that the level would go down enough for me to give it another try. The situation was dire. The smell was so thick that if I lit a match, I would have emerged with singed eyebrows. The water was just on the precipice of overflowing, and this particularly water escape the toilet, we would have no choice but to permanently seal off the bathroom as a biohazard. There was no room for error here. I had to call in reinforcements. I steeled myself and went upstairs to find Morgan and Sarah, if not for help, at least for moral support. As calmly as I could, I let them know about our predicament and requested that they follow me to help assess the situation. As expected, they were horrified. It was a grim sight, and once again, the water level had not gone down whatsoever in the time I was gone. Soberly, we closed the door and convened in the living room, strategizing what could be done. Using all the resources available to us, aka Google, we weigh our options. More plunging with the water as high as it was would only spell disaster. The water displaced by the plunger alone would be enough to send it over the edge. Similarly, pouring in a bucket of water to force a manual flush was out of the question. Any science fairest combination of baking soda and vinegar would only make the situation worse. After all was said and done, we were left with one option: lower the water level any way we could and then try again with the plunger. I knew that whatever I used to remove that heinous poop water would be biohazardous material by the time I was done with it, so I settled on something we wouldn't miss: the dozens of empty cottage cheese containers my sweet mother, despite having access to more than enough Tupperware to store all the leftovers we could dream of, had saved over the years. The cottage cheese containers also had the benefit of coming with equally disposable lids, so they were definitely the best option we had in lieu of medical-grade waste disposal equipment. I elected to use one extra unlucky container to scoop the water into another waiting receptacle, which I would lid, place on the bathroom counter, cover in plastic grocery bags, and then, once I had a couple, I could take it at once, carry with the most utmost care upstairs to the nearest unclogged toilet and dispose of. Having the strongest stomach out of all of us, I was drafted for the task and I suited up. A leftover N95 mask from the height of the COVID pandemic, several layers of gloves, and clothes I was willing to part with if things went south. Even if they didn't, I was going to throw them out anyways. The memories attached to them couldn't be washed out with all the OxyClean in the world. Gathered my wits, and I went to work. It was utterly unholy. I gagged more times than I could count, and it took more trips than you could possibly imagine. Each container I revealed water more disgusting than the last batch as I ventured closer and closer to the apex of clog. Morgan and Sarah gagged along with me, flushing as I poured each disgusting container into the loving embrace of the upstairs toilet. Finally, I figured that the water level was low enough to give it another try. Dread descended upon me as the water level rose once more, filling the toilet bowl with horrors anew. I returned to my endless task, climbing the stairs with my little containers of evil. Seasons changed outside the window, pages flew off the calendar, and I still shrugged. At first, I seethed at the girl who had subjected me to this torment, blissfully ignorant of the horrors I was experiencing at her hand. Then, I only felt pity, because clearly whatever was going on inside her intestines must have been more horrifying than I could imagine. Once more, the water level lowered, and I, beaten down, reduced to a shadow of my former self, raised the plunger again. I plunged with all my might, using muscles I have not used before or since. The clouds parted, the world regained color as the toilet let out a pathetic gurgle, and the water finally drained. I could have dropped to my knees on the cold tile floor. I was so happy. I gave it another good plunge and watched the water finally run clear, the bowl refilling and my nightmare ending. I quadruple bagged the containers and threw them in the dumpster, just as my parents pulled into the driveway. They saw the state of me and asked what had happened. Sweating, nearly trembling and ready for a year-long shower, I said the words that had been running through my head for the entire hour-long ordeal. A crap and run. TLDR, a 9-year-old girl blew up my bathroom so badly that I had to manually remove the water from the toilet to avoid a biohazard situation. A crap and run, if you will. Update 2 answers some questions. Did I use a real plunger or a sink plunger? A real plunger. I grew up with those massive accordion-looking plunger in every bathroom. I guess my parents were passionate about proper plumbing etiquette, knowingly or unknowingly. Do you have a poop knife? No, unfortunately, we do not have a poop knife, nor do we have a poop stick or a poop coat hanger. But I'm very impressed with the arsenal of tools that are apparently available to me should I need them. Did she ever return for another piano lesson? Not only did she return, I asked Matt and he still teaches her to this day. That being said, I haven't seen her since. I moved out pretty soon after that, and although I visit my family frequently, she has not been present at Sunday dinner. But I wish her well and pray that her family has a hearty septic system and a whole lot of Febreze. Let's see what some of the commenters have to say. First commenter says, everyone needs just a stack of 5-gallon buckets in the garage. They're like $4 each. They're a drum. They're a chair. Put ice in them and they're a cooler. And when you need them there'll be buckets you can fill with bleach and water. The OP responds, I cleaned out a clogged sink last night and a bucket would have come in handy too. I might have to take your advice and pick up some. And then another comment says, was it the girl again? The OP responds, if she found a way into my house and crapped in my sink, I would be very surprised, but I suppose I can't rule it out. Another commenter added to that says, it sounds like your house might have some significant clogging issues. Could be worth getting a plumber to come snake it out as much as they can to clear your drains. OP responds, I might consider that next time. The sink is in my new place and was clogged before I moved in, but cleaning it out was disgusting enough that I might delegate it if it happens in the future. I love how the OP retold the story. It was both funny and entertaining. I can just imagine how that, supposedly 9-year-old female girl must have been feeling when she actually pooped and realized that the toilet was clogged. She must have been super embarrassed, which is probably why she walked out of the house a lot quicker than she usually would. I think she definitely learned her lesson, and maybe next time she should actually tell the homeowners or the other people in the house that she clogged it, as embarrassing as it might be. Anyways, I would love to hear what you guys thought of the story. Did you guys find it entertaining? Please leave it in the comments. And if you like these type of stories, continue to like and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later.